We continue here. More than a year since the deadly 2021 July unrest, many businesses as well as individuals are yet to recover from the devastating riots. Meanwhile, an NGO, Afrika Tikkun, has raised 140 million rand and managed to save thousands of jobs by helping to rebuild township businesses which were affected by the unrest. Now, to find out more about the NGO and how it raised funds to help businesses, I'm joined by Afrika Tikkun Foundation CEO Alef Meulenberg. Alef, a pleasure to have you on the program this evening. Firstly, tell us, how did this idea to help out businesses come about?
Thank you for having me. The idea came about out of a sense of frustration, really. I felt quite deflated when the riots happened for a number of reasons. The one was that I thought we were better as a people, and the second was that a lot of businesses that I had encountered with in townships were the lifeblood of those communities, and in essence, now overnight those businesses were gone, and I wanted to do something about it. So we spoke about it as an exco, and we said, look, can we help 50 businesses? And that's how it started. So we set out to help 50 businesses to revive or to restart themselves post the riots, and through some grant funding and through some support in the form of mentorship. And that's how a campaign was launched.
Now, aside from your personal feelings, what concerned you the most about the effects of that widespread looting and damage to property that we saw playing out during the unrest last year?
So for me, it was we were seeing constantly declining job opportunities in the communities that we were serving. And not too long before that, we had seen record highs in both unemployment and youth unemployment. And these are the very businesses that were destroyed, that were employing people from their communities and providing a sense of local economic development. And now those were gone. So that was a big problem for us. And I think the other thing was the more unrest there was without any positivity coming out of that unrest would leave more people to be feeling hopeless, and particularly in the communities that we're serving, which would have a further negative spiral effect, so to say.
Now, you've already started speaking more about this initiative and that you had planned to assist about 50 businesses which were destroyed in the unrest last year. It would appear that your expectations have been exceeded. Speak to us about the response. What has that been like?
Yeah. Now, the response was much more positive than we initially thought. So we really thought, look, let's help 50 businesses and see it from there. And within, I think, 6 to 8 weeks' time, if my memory serves me correctly, we were able to help over 1,000 businesses. And at the end of the day, when all was said and done, we were able to help over 1,400 businesses, and in the process save over 4,000 jobs. So we were able to raise for about 140 million rand. From a variety of sponsors, and then had to significantly scale up our efforts, set up an entire team around that, work with one of the major banks, FNB, in order to do the KYC checks, and have an entire sort of like investment committee in place to ensure which businesses we would be able to support and which ones we wouldn't, based on a set of criteria. And that's what we did, and that was done in kind of record time. We set it up in, let's say, 8 weeks, if not less, and that really helped us to be relevant for the businesses in the biggest time of need. So a lot of businesses were back up and running around Christmas time, while they were obviously completely destroyed in July.
I wanted to speak a bit more about how exactly you went about assisting these businesses. With the 140 million rand raised, in practical terms, how did these businesses benefit really?
So they could request up to 150,000 rand in grant funding or loan funding, depending on the donors. Some donors provided us with funding to be loans to entrepreneurs, but the most was really grant funding. And beyond that, they got access to an online platform called Mido, and that platform offered almost like a business-in-a-box tool, but then online. Some got access to personal mentors, and others, with the funding that we would put into the business would go to suppliers. And the reason we did that is that a lot of businesses were in bad financial shape. So if we would put cash in their businesses, debit orders would kind of deplete that immediately. Or if entrepreneurs hadn't separated their personal accounts from their business accounts, it would mean that personal debit orders would even deplete the funds before they would be able to help the entrepreneurs to revive their businesses accordingly. So we would buy for the business what they needed, but from a supplier. So if it's a butchery, we would buy meat from a supplier. If it would be a shop fitting, we would pay a supplier to do the shop fitting accordingly. So that's how we help them. And I think combined with the mentorship and support, a lot of businesses, in our opinion, are better off now than they were before, while some are still struggling.
Now, Alef, as we wrap up, how can this model really assist, especially to support other township businesses?
Yeah. So the stories that came out of this were really positive, and the businesses that we saw that we were able to help, some of these businesses are really exciting businesses and are businesses that can significantly scale. So how we see that going forward is that we want to turn it into a more permanent initiative where we're not only helping businesses that are affected by floods or by riots or by any type of disaster, but that we look at from a merit perspective, what businesses that are currently in townships can scale and what do they need, and kind of personalize that. Sure, there are some basic efforts that we have as offerings, but in essence, what we then want to do is to say, what does this business need? Does this business need support, either financially, or does this business need a mentor, or does this business need access to social capital? And we then particularly work with entrepreneurs to see what are their needs and requirements, and aim to help them scale. And that really is the next step for us when it comes to this.
And what exactly is the work of Afrika Tikkun Foundation? And for those who are watching this conversation, wondering how they can tap into such opportunities, how do they go about contacting you as well?
So the work of Afrika Tikkun Foundation is from cradle to career. So we're quite holistic in our offering. So it goes all the way from early childhood development to career development, and career development should lead to either employment or self-employment. And this is then a self-employment arm. We have a team dedicated to this. So on our website, you can find the Reviving Township Economies campaign, and there's a team that's associated to that. If you want to call our office, you can just ask for myself or for Liesel. Liesel is the lady who's responsible for the implementation of the program, and then you're able to find us. Okay.
Alef Meulenberg, he's the CEO of the Afrika Tikkun Foundation, speaking about their intervention in assisting businesses that were hard hit by that July unrest that we saw play out last year.